Welcome to the Way We See It podcast.
where we talk about politics, social justice, and culture.
I'm Tati,
And I'm Ariana.
and we are your host of this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Way We See It podcast, back with you with episode 59. So, you know what that means. Next week is the last episode, thank God, of season 3. I think this is the longest season, like for me, even though we do 20 episodes every season. But because, like, we had so many breaks, when we usually maybe do 1 or 2 breaks during the season. So, like, this one was just very, very long. And then plus in the beginning when we started, we didn't really have like we had topics planned out to talk about. It just like also like didn't end up following in the order that we were like going with. So it's been a very long season in my opinion.
No, I agree. If things
Yeah.
get splattered around, like kind of like all over the place in terms of not being as consistent as we would like.
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of things going on, like personally, with our jobs,
Yeah.
you know, and as I've gotten to know Ariana more, it doesn't make me feel that bad when it comes to being a procrastinator because I know you do the same thing sometimes. But so what's it called? But yeah, guys, so we're here this week. Did you want to catch up the listeners with your week? Even though we just did this before, we should stop catching up before the episode starts so we could like so
It's
we don't have
because
to
we get
repeat
more
ourselves.
personal off camera.
Yeah, that too.
But my weeks, it's been a lot. Just working and internship. Literally, when I come home from work, I go straight to talking to my clients. And then by the time I finish that, it's time for me to shower, eat dinner, pack my lunch for the next day. The next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock, and then I only get a few hours. And then it's time for me to get up. So that's like my cycle every day.
Yeah, my schedule is like all over the place. So like I can't really say like which one is, but basically Monday through Thursdays I am up from either 6:30 to like 7:15. I like to wake up during that time. Then I have to get dressed quickly, catch the bus by 7:30 because it's right there across the street from my grandparents' house. And then I go to the bus, go to school, do my classes. I don't get to eat anything until I'm out of school because masks need to be on at all times, and I'm like in my classes back to back, so like I'm not allowed to eat, not allowed to drink in the classroom. So,
You can't bring a snack?
huh?
You can't bring a snack to class? That's not allowed?
I'm not allowed to take off my mask whatsoever.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, so if I want to like have a snack real quick in the middle of class, I really need to walk out the building, not into the hallway, not whatever. I have to leave the building.
Now,
So
if I were you, that 15-minute walk you have to do, I'll snack and walk real quick.
no, yeah, that's what I usually do. But that class is only Tuesdays and Thursdays when I have to do that 15-minute walk. And I'd be zooming because I don't want to be late. So like my legs are hurting, my shoulders hurt from my book bag. But I'm like, they're eating a granola bar if I have one, drinking some water because I can't even drink water. I had to leave my Italian class today to go to the bathroom, and when I made sure that it was empty, I drank some of my water. So that was it.
Like OD, bro. Like the
Yeah.
public schools, the school I'm working at, when you're eating, you can take your mask. But in the class, my first class, I didn't drink my water. So I don't know what happens if you have to, if you're thirsty. And our class is like 2 hours and we gotta talk a lot. So
I've had teachers already tell students like everybody needs to keep on their mask. Like you'll see someone take off their mask,
thirsty,
just
bro.
a
Like,
little bit of drink some water, and they'll say no.
what if your throat is dry? Like, how are you supposed to stay
No matter.
hydrated? We need to stay hydrated to learn.
My lips be so chapped by the time I leave my classroom and look at my face, my lips are white. That's disgusting. So not even white. I'm dragging it. That sounds dirty. But they're dry. Okay. So I realized when I said white, it seems like I maybe don't brush my teeth or something, but that's not the case. So, so yeah, I'll do that. And then if I have class right after work, if I have work right after class ends at 12 o'clock. I got to be at work at 12:30. It's a 30-minute drive. So I instantly have to hop in my car, go straight to work, and then from there, I'll work until 8 o'clock for some nights. And then I'll come home, I'll shower, I'll try to annotate some of my writings if possible. If there's any food, I'll try and pack it. If I have work the next day, if not, I'll just order when I'm at work. And then that's it. And I go to bed around like 11, 12 o'clock. And then I'm up again at 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
It depends on the day. Yeah. And I'm doing so much commuting too. It's like, how do you even function?
Yeah, the commuting. I'm like, I literally spend like almost 3 hours, 4 hours commuting back and forth.
Yeah. And like gas is like $40 right now. When I remember 2 years ago when I got my car, my gas was $25. $20 to $25. How did I go from that to 40? And I have a 1997. Unbelievable. But we're getting off topic, guys. So basically, we've been having busy weeks again now recently because school started. We both work, and then Ariana has her internship. So, yeah. And I'm with my family all the time now here in Queens. So it's like I'm never getting a break. There's like 6 other people on the side of the door, and they're there every day. So, wish me luck. Anyways, this week's topic, as you can see from this week's episode, title is Science of Happiness. But before I get into that again, make sure you check out our socials if you haven't already. We're on Instagram and Twitter at The Way We See It with C. If you're having trouble finding us, you can find us on Google, and you'll find where we're being streamed, our platforms, like our social media, like I said. And if anything, you can always check us out on YouTube, where if you're watching right now, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell button so you get notified every week. All right, guys. The routine. Only 2 more times. I think this is actually the first time, now that I think about it, where we're sort of. Are you excited about season 3 ending?
I don't know how I feel about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm
actually, like in the middle.
I'm looking forward to having more free time. But I don't feel as sad as the other 2 seasons.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel more relieved that there's one less thing I need to worry about for the week. So it's like, let's just say I could have picked up a shift tonight. I could do that now because we don't have the podcast. But compared to the last 2 seasons where we got a little emotional and everything, and it was actually nice and sentimental. And I mean, we've come a long way this season too. We had Dariel as a guest. He was the only guest we actually had this season. No, and we did our first collab with him too, right?
Yeah, we did our first podcast collab with Dariel. We had my brother and our friend Jeremy.
Oh yeah, in the very beginning. So good. I love that episode. So much short kings out there.
We received hate on YouTube from the comment. Yes. That was iconic.
I was just about to say that. You took the words out my mouth. This season has by far been a very entertaining season, in my opinion. Despite us like having the challenges and everything with some episodes, it's like it was still very different compared to the other 2.
It's definitely our most viewed season, like in total with like YouTube and Anchor. If you add like all the plays together,
yeah,
our most viewed season, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we've gained some new followers since the season started too, which to you guys may not be a lot, but it's a lot to us.
Wait, how many followers?
Slowly growing. We have 160 now, don't we?
Okay, and how much we started for season 2?
150.
Okay.
145, because they had one down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we picked those back up. That's good. And then we still have other things that we have planned for the following season, but it was a nice season, but not one that's gonna make me cry. Yeah. But all right, guys, let's block it. We're gonna get into the science of happiness now. So, what does happiness mean to you, and why did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so I was the one that told Tati about that we should talk about this topic. I actually took a whole course about this. It was my senior seminar course that I took in my undergrad. Literally spent 4 months reading research about how do people how do we become happy, what makes people happy, anything related to happiness. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty familiar from about this topic. And by the end of this course, it made me look at happiness from a different perspective than what I thought it was before. Now I kind of look at happiness as a feeling that I feel that everyone wants to feel, but there are some people that, based on their thought process or like experiences, like past life things, they may not have this as a goal.
Mm-hmm.
For people that don't have those distortions, I think for the most part, everyone wants to feel this pleasurable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes somebody happy, that looks different for everybody, which makes happiness subjective. And from like the studies that I had to read in that course, like researchers had like different definitions of what is happiness and how they would measure it. So that's something like to critique about the science of happiness, that it looks
Mm-hmm.
different to everybody. So it is kind of hard to study it if everybody has a different definition and it's subjective.
Mm. Wow. 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 I do agree with everything that Ariana said for the most part. I thought it would be interesting to look into after Ariana told me like why she wanted to discuss it after she did her seminar, and she just gave me brief details about it, and I was like, okay, that'd be cool to talk about. Why not? And I do believe happiness is a pleasurable feeling everybody does want to feel or experience again, or at least once, in some kind of way, shape, or form. Like Ariana said, it really does depend on you as a person. Like everybody, thought process is different. So like that may be something that you want to experience, whereas it's not really something that another person craves or needs, to have a good life. So, but I understand that sometimes it's harder for a lot of people to achieve that feeling at the same time. And in like past seasons, we've talked about like mental illness, suicide, and especially when I talked about me and my mental health, like obviously you guys saw I was not happy. I was trying my best to be happy, but even when I was happy, it was like I was fucking miserable. So, um, like and I did learn a few things about this after I read the document and stuff. I did learn some of these things in psychology. Not psychology, actually. I learned it a little bit in sociology.
Mm.
It was a unit, now that I think about it, and it was surrounded around positivity. If I was back home, I have my book that has notes on that class, but I don't have it here. So I don't really remember. But I do remember that because I saw Maslow.
Oh yeah, Maslow, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so how can happiness be connected to science, and what is the science of happiness? The science of happiness, also called positive psychology, quote unquote, is a field of study that is studied in the psychology field to better understand what is happiness and how people experience happiness. Before positive psychology became known in the mental health field, it mainly focused on mental disorders or the study of abnormal cognition, behavior, and experiences, which is how psychology all started back in the 1800s. One fact. This focus has helped us understand mental disorders and understand how we can help those with depression, anxiety, personality disorders, PTSD, substance abuse, and etc. Now, positive psychology, or the science of happiness, has brought an entirely new perspective in the field. It has influenced researchers, psychologists to examine what makes people thrive. And in the past decade, researchers have been studying what thoughts, actions, and behaviors makes us more productive at work/school, happier in relationships, and more satisfied at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, so just to like summarize, there's been like a shift into what is like studied in the psychology field. So first it was more about kind of like a disease model, just looking at what's wrong with people, studying how to treat depression and anxiety and all these different mental health disorders. And now, not now, but it's been since like the late 90s. There's more of a focus now on like what makes people happy, what makes people thrive, looking at things from a strength based. And so yeah, looking at things from a strength base. And that's basically what the science of happiness is just researchers, psychologists looking at people who are happy however they measure happiness. Like I said before, like the measures they use is different.
Yeah. For example, like just a small example, like Ariana could describe like what would you rank your ideal, like what's something simple that makes you happy, that's enough to make you happy?
Something simple. Let's see. I'm trying to I like the sun like hitting my skin. Like
yeah, so something as small as maybe going not even vacation, just walking outside and feeling the sun on her skin. It's like, oh, it's a nice day, I feel great right now. That's enough for her to like be happy, maybe want to have a happy day and not let anything ruin her day. Whereas for me, let's just say, this is not me, guys. The only time I'm happy is at night when I'm out with my friends at night, going out to clubs, dinner, whatever it may be, having fun in the nighttime. Maybe that's the only time I find my joy. Whereas in the daytime, I'm like, I'm muggy, and I'm just waiting for the nighttime to come, and that's when like is my best feeling. So now getting onto the history of positive psychology / science of happiness. So the term positive psychology first appeared in 1954 in Abraham Maslow's, who is an American psychologist, book called Motivation and Personality. That's the one I was referring to earlier, guys, that I learned in sociology, I believe. So way before positive psychology became accepted or popular, Maslow discussed how psychology should also study what makes people thrive. Here's a quote from his book. Ariana.
The science of psychology has been far more successful on the negative than on the positive side. It has revealed to us much about man's shortcomings, his illnesses, his sins, but little about his potentialities, his virtues, his achievable aspirations, or his psychological height. It is if psychology had voluntarily restricted itself to only half its rightful jurisdiction than the darker, meaner half. That's deep, I feel like. And I agree with Maslow. And the fact that he was talking about this in 1954 is crazy to me.
In fact, he was woke.
Yeah, he was woke. And like I agree. We're not just like how do I explain this? Like we should also look at the good things that we're good at, our strengths and our talents, not just what's wrong with us. Like
I definitely think that he was woke for his time and everything, because I completely agree. Like honestly, in my opinion too, this is how I felt initially before I took my sociology class, and that's what made psychology and sociology such a big thing for me, I think, in my life, especially with me with my anxiety and occasional depression. But it was like taking that mental illness and everything, where you learn psychology and how that affects people's well-being in the negative aspect, not the positive way. And then not saying we talk about it mainly in sociology, but in sociology we're talking about how we interact with humans and our behaviors and why we act the way we act. And even like not talking about, like, let's just say I have this mental illness and that's why I act the way I act. It's like more so regarding like just us as humans, our goals, our aspirations, like whether, yeah, what I said, like our goals, our aspirations, to then our religion and our ethnicity. And it goes on from there. And it's like, it's so connected because, well, the fact that my brain is like actually working right now. But huh?
That's why I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm into this, but then it's like,
I'm trying to get into a flow.
Yeah, me too. And so it's like at the end of the day, we're all freaking human. And even though, hello, like I have my faults. Ariana has her own faults. Like, there's something that makes us feel, I don't want to say devalued, but like something about us that we always tend to criticize. Um, and we can't help that. But at the same time, let's just say, even though this is like something you do in an interview, matter of fact, if you're gonna mention your weaknesses in an interview, you say why it's also a strength. So, oh, I tend to talk a lot, but that's also a strength of mine because it helps me become very interactive with customers, and I'm a very good people person. I'm very big on communication, so it's something like that. So
Mm.
it's like, even though I am extremely sad sometimes, which I haven't in a few months, thank God, but even though I'm extremely sad sometimes, um, like clearly you see my ambition for trying to get better, like, and see my ambition and like where it could take me. Like, if I'm that strong to get out of that hole and all this other shit, then imagine what else I could do. And it's like, it shows you more as a person, a human being, and like what you can be or what you can do in that moment. You know, it could be a present or future thing, depends on how you want to take it.
And I think I got my thoughts back together, but I agree everything that Tati said, and I agree with Maslow's quote. Also acknowledging like the strengths of the person because you're acknowledging the whole person. So for me, as a future therapist and now being an intern, basically being a therapist for free, that's what I'm doing now. I don't, I don't,
Uh-huh.
I don't look at my clients like, oh, they're just depressed. They just have anxiety.
Yeah.
I also help them identify like the strengths they had, or like in the past, what strengths did they use
Yeah.
now. I
You
don't
do that.
I don't only just look at their quote unquote wrong side, um, because I don't make that as like the main thing, because we're more than just their disorder.
Yeah. It's like those commercials. I'm more than my depression. I'm more than my fear. Like, it's true that you
Mhm.
are more than that. I feel like this is more of a motivational talk, like a motivational seminar for us in like every week. But yeah, it is like that. Like, I don't want to be cringe or whatever, but it's exactly like that. And basically what we just said. I don't want to I want to be repetitive, but it's something that I can say that I relate to now after being, I want to say sober. I'm going to say sober. Actually, no, let me not be sober. Maybe I don't want to get canceled for saying sober.
Maybe not sober, but coming through, or
Yeah.
realizing.
Yeah. So, like, after all these months since I've gone through my last depressing stage, um, like, I just, like, it's something that I watch from afar and, like, I do reflect on. I mean, I've done that throughout the previous years anyways, but it's just something that um I do take into consideration because it's obviously a place I don't want to go back to. It's not my favorite place to be at, but like now watching where I was only like 6 months ago now, 7 months ago, and how I've been happy for this long now, which I think is like longest in a long time. But it's like I'm realizing like who I am as a person and my worth, and like all those things that I used to doubt myself about, and like ended up leaving me in my bed and like just staying in the dark all day, all night. And it's like, here I am now, like I fucking graduated. Like, if I let the depression eat me up, I wouldn't have graduated last semester. Like, I would have not pulled through if I didn't have like this mental switch in my head click off, and it's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what are my goals? Like, let me organize my shit out. Like, I just started brainstorming on my paper, writing down all my thoughts from my diary to things I wanted to do to things I need, getting every possible thought out there, and then just trying to organize it into the things that like I want right now. So like, and that's the thing that motivated me to even get off my ass, because like, fuck doing this for anybody else. I'm getting my fucking education for myself now. Like, not even for my parents to make them proud, not even to like prove a point to my boyfriend or whatever it may be. It was truly for myself, because then now I wanted to graduate so that I could come to a CUNY school, so I could come here, do my teaching, and I have a plan to study abroad by the summertime. Do I think I'm gonna study abroad still by the summertime? I may not be anymore, but what's cool, I still plan to go abroad during the summer, whether it's studying or just traveling, you know? So like once I got my goals in place, like it was hard, but bro, like I pushed through. And like that's another thing. I didn't have any anxiety attacks or anything last semester, which I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And that's just something, like I think that just shows my character right there. Like I feel like I've always been like this my whole life, like as me as an individual, but like I'm able to acknowledge that now, me just being me, because like I finally gone through that phase of my life where during that time it was like extremely hard to remind myself, like even though I may have known it, it's like still hard to like believe that in myself when like I see myself doing the complete opposite of what I know I'm capable of doing. So
Wow.
wow, this is a seminar.
That was emotional.
The English major's coming out. What can I say? My English classes, literary history, credits to my professor, even though whatever. Anyways, yeah. What can I say?
That quote,
After
like,
the English,
I was thinking.
you said what?
Literally, like, our thoughts just started flowing from that quote we just read.
Yeah. Look at us. Ugh, maybe I will get emotional now. Who knows? Anyways, continuing. You finished your last point, right? With the
Yeah,
strengthening clients.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now continuing after our beautiful seminar, after Maslow introduced the topic of positive psychology, other famous psychologists like Carl Rogers and Eric Fromm developed theories that involve human happiness. So then in 1998, Martin Seligman, also known as the quote unquote father of positive psychology, for modernizing positive psychology. This is when positive psychology started to become popular in the field. And during this time, Seligman was president of the American Psychological Associate, and positive psychology became the theme of his term as president. Okay, good to know. Since then, a lot more funding has been going towards research related to human happiness, which has helped to better understand what makes people thrive. There's an interesting quote from the essay called The History of Positive Psychology, where they say, moreover, using phenomenological existential mythology is essential to explore questions about what makes life fulfilling or meaningful. So we kind of got into that briefly in the beginning a little bit, when we said like just a small example of whether you find life more meaningful and are happy when you feel the sun on your face, whereas me, I'm outside partying at night and that's when I'm my happiest. So even though it's completely different from the other, it doesn't devalue the other person's like source of happiness and what makes their life more meaningful than the other. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so touched by like my words right now. Anyways, sorry guys, I'm feeling myself. So that's what I think of when I hear that, because essential to explore questions about what makes life fulfilling or more meaningful. Like I said before, I don't know if you do the same, Ariana, but there's times where I often look back at my diary or just like my memories, and I reflect over like my previous mindsets, how I perceive things, the things that made me happy then. The person I was 7 years ago compared to who I am today, two completely different things that make them happy, two completely different morals, whatever, different things that made me me. But I do consider myself a very simplistic person. It doesn't take much to please me, and I am often my happiest when I'm inside. But I'm like a mixture of introverted and extroverted. I can't be forced to go outside. If I'm forced to go outside, I can't do it. But when I'm ready to go outside and everything, I'll have a nice time and I'll enjoy myself. So that's gonna be like my happiest moment because I'm coming out of my cage. But for me, I'm my happiest when I'm surrounded by those that I love and I see that my love is being reciprocated and I'm home. And when I honestly have moments of where I'm just thinking, like, as I am right now, just reflecting, those are like things that make me happy and help me see life as more meaningful for me personally. How about you?
Yeah, I also keep a diary, and I've been journaling for like years now, like since
Me
like
too.
school. And
3 volumes.
yeah, I have a couple volumes. I like stopped after a couple years, but I really got a consistent in 2020.
Hmm.
But it is nice to look back and then see where like you came from or how you used to think, the people you
Yeah.
hang out with and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do enjoy like reading back and looking at moments where I was stressed about some like not really things that would really stress me now, or being sad about something that I was really sad about in the moment, but I'm no longer thinking about that now. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, journaling helps a lot.
Yeah. And then like it sometimes I'll catch myself off guard because I like to think that I remember everything that I've gone through. But then I read my diary and I'm like, that happened. I don't remember thinking that, doing that, whatever it may be. My mind just blocks or puts it in a don't remember file. But anyways, yeah, like yeah, basically what we just said. That's how I relate to that quote. And it's just so funny to me because I just think back to me back then, like where I was really like such a happy person, but then at the same time, I was like quick into I was quick to give into like things that didn't benefit me. So whether it was like an argument, being with people I didn't need to be with, and then like always trust your gut. I'm telling you, the one thing that hasn't changed in my life is my gut feeling. Regardless of what I'm doing, my gut always tells me something. So, and if not that, my visions. I have foresight, people. I don't
That's
know.
Raven.
That's all, baby. Maybe, maybe. I haven't had that much this year. I wonder why. I don't know, but I do. My gut feelings have been like astronomical recently. Like I just keep getting this feeling in my gut, and I'm here. These last 2 days, I've been trying to figure out what my gut is trying to tell me. I don't
Mm,
know what it is. So
some,
stay tuned, guys.
something's coming.
Something. Ugh, it's making me queasy. Okay, getting into the next part of this episode, which is not Tati being psychic. So, what are the 3 dimensions of happiness? You can get into this, Adi, if you want to.
Yeah, so according to Sugman and his research, not just him, but like other like psychologists that also do
Mm-hmm.
research, they found that we experience 3 kinds of happiness, and that is pleasure and gratification, embodiment of strengths and virtues, which are talents, and meaning and purpose. So now we're going to break down each dimension of happiness. And as we go through that, we're just going to say like our thoughts and how we personally like relate to these 3 types of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So first is pleasure and gratification, which equals pleasant life. So one level of happiness is a pleasant life where one engages in doing activities that give you pleasure frequently and constantly. Wait, frequently and consistently. On the other hand, there are other shortcuts to feel pleasure and gratification that make us feel happy for a short amount of time, such as going shopping, eating your favorite food, or like
Mm-hmm.
drugs or alcohol. Now, these are like indulgences that, according to the research, don't lead to true happiness. So yeah, what are your thoughts when you hear that in order to live
Not these.
a pleasant life, you have to like do things that make you happy consistently and like frequently?
Well, I eat every day, so
Yeah.
that can make me happy no matter what they say. They said these indulgences do not lead to true happiness. I don't know about that because if I try a food and it's like the best feeling, like it's something that truly makes my day if I eat a food and maybe it's made different, maybe I'm trying something new, but my jaw tingles when it's like really good or something new, like I said. And when I get that feeling, it's the best feeling. That's how I know it slaps when my jaw tingles. and it just makes me extremely happy. I'm like, oh, like there's this thing I used to say when I was in middle school called bust a nut, which now looking back at it, sorry, very explicit. Not what anybody was thinking. I hope Ariana's mom is not listening to this episode and thinks of me weirdly. But listen, I was in middle school and I was saying this. It now looking back, it's not that logical, but back then when I was in middle school, I used to say bust a nut, whereas I thought that if how guys were, I was like, how do guys not like bust a nut when they, because like they obviously are busting a nut from pleasure. Sorry, we're getting really rated R right now. But what's it called? I was like, what if you eat something really good? Like sometimes certain things like arouse people. Not saying that food's arousing me, but it's like it just brings such a good feeling to you that I was like, if I was a guy, this would be something to make me bust a nut. Forget sex. I'm busting a nut from this food. It's so good. And so that's why I would say that.
I definitely had experience like that with food. I remember one time I had this like Nutella like filled thing, like it was like a churro, but like inside was Nutella. So when you bite into
Oh,
oh my goodness, literally,
uh-huh.
I was in the restaurant with my cousins and I took a bite of that and I was like screaming of how good. I was like, oh my God, I need another bite.
I'm the kind of person that if I did that, I'd be stomping, I'd be dancing in my seat. I'm like, oh, this is so good. My computer's on tilt right now. But yo, yeah, exactly like that. I also like, I don't want to say drinking makes me happy. It's not something that brings me pleasure. I mean, like obviously, like if I'll have a glass of wine or something, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm relaxing. But um, I would say me going out and having a nice night with my family, that is a good feeling. So if I'm out in a club where, whether drinks are involved or not, whatever the case may be, I'm still having a good time, like the time me and Ariana and the boys, we all hung out for our friend Jeremy's birthday. It was like such a nice night and I loved it. And like the memories that were built that night are like memories I'm always gonna cherish. So that's something that brought me moments of happiness. And that's another thing I was gonna say. I think small moments of happiness such as those, whether it's from eating to just like having like those moments with your friends, those are enough to make me feel like I'm living a pleasant life.
Mm-hmm. And I can see like for the researchers like perspective why they think like going shopping or eating your favorite food, consuming alcohol, whatever may be indulgences, because like it may just give you happiness for a short period of amount of time. But when like for me, something that I do like consistently and frequently is exercise.
The
So
people that work out to get over a heartbreak, you're in this category, people. Don't think you're slick.
I'm what
Yeah.
heartbreak?
No. I mean the people that like it's like been a thing where when people get heartbroken now, the way to get over their heartbreak is like going to the gym. And they work out so hard, so consistently that they get like bodybuilders, Not saying that like you're in that field. It all depends on the person. But like even someone I know, they just had a breakup and now they're in the gym every day all of a sudden. And they're being consistent. I was like, damn, go off this. I mean, do you?
Yeah, I've seen that. But yeah, that's something that I do frequently because it does give me pleasure. I don't just do it for like physical benefits, but for mental benefits as well.
Yeah. I'm not one to really do like
You dance.
well yeah, but I haven't been able to do it since school started, so it's like it's annoying. But there's this park called Flushing Meadow Park where my family and I used to go for runs every weekend when I was younger. And when I'm angry, that's the only time where I catch myself needing to run to like release that anger. I'm not saying I'm angry, but like I haven't really been that happy with my body. So I know once I go for a run, it'll give me a moment of pleasure and like happiness. But once I'm done with that run, I may go back to feeling like that, or I'll feel better. It really depends on the day, honestly. So I feel like the run that I occasionally do does fit into that category that psychologists would consider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next one.
So the next one is like using your virtues and strengths which will equal to an engaged life according to the research.
Mm.
So an engaged life is when a person utilizes their virtues or their talents and strengths to help them thrive. In order to have an engaged life, you need to identify your strengths and virtues. And once you get these things, participate in activities or do things that reflect your strengths and virtues. For example, hanging around people that reflect your own values. Painting or drawing. If you know that you're like to paint, like Tati, do it. If you like to draw, do it. If you're really good at playing a sport, do it. Simple, kind of.
Mm. I want to say, so like the question now is, what strengths and virtues do we have that we utilize? I mean, you guys could totally, like, I want you guys to be asking yourselves these also as we go along with the episode, because um maybe it'll help you reflect as we are right now as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally want to say that I do have my strengths and virtues that I am completely aware of. The only thing about me is that I am lazy. Like, it really depends on the day. If I was going through my depressed phase, and that's completely different. That's not being me lazy. I just physically cannot do it. But as of right now, I'm freaking lazy. Like, I just can't bring myself to grab my sketchbook and my notebook and try to struggle with figuring out what I'm gonna draw, and I just have artist block for God knows what, and then draw something that is nowhere near satisfying to me. So that's how I get. Um, but then it's also just so hard these days to find somebody with common interests as you, because, like, well, one, we were pretty much virtual until the summertime. Now things are slowly trying to be normalized again. Um, Depending on how you consider normalized normalcy. Um, but it's just like so hard. Like, let's just say, like, when I'm at work and I'm talking to my coworkers, like, yeah, I get along with my coworkers, but just because I get along with my coworkers doesn't mean we have similar things in common. You know, like, I have friends that don't like anime whatsoever, like Ariana, like she couldn't get into it. And whereas, like, but that's after the fact that me and Ariana became friends, because when me and her first became friends, I wasn't even into anime, but now I am. But hello, look at us in our friendship. And then there's other people same way. I am friends with a few athletes, um, because I like sports. Um, but I do see that. I don't know what else to say. How about you?
Um, so like looking at my strengths and I guess talents I have, I would say a strength, and I'm basing this on what people have told me, and I guess from self-reflection.
Oh, you could be cocky for a little bit.
Um,
Get yourself up.
being a good listener, which also
Mm-hmm.
like helps like a lot with the field that I'm getting into, just listening to people and um being supportive,
Mm-hmm.
another strength. Being open-minded, um, which I think I would say, Tati, that's a strength that you have, which is like we're practicing that now in our podcast every week,
Yeah.
exploring these different topics that we don't know much about, or sometimes we know a lot about, but we, even though when we think we know a lot about it, we always find something new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
Um,
what we said in episode 1. It doesn't hurt to change your opinion about certain things because you're now getting educated on a certain topic.
mhm. Yeah,
So
because
continue.
talent, I don't know what talent I have. um, I don't know. I'm good at like planning things, although some of my friends may disagree because sometimes
Oh yeah.
I get little things
No, you're
about,
in the middle. You're in the middle.
but I enjoy like planning things,
Mhm.
although it can be stressful. Right now, I'm kind of stressed about my. Well, I was stressed about my birthday plans, but um, I do.
Next time we meet, guys, Ariana's gonna be 25. Woo! Continue.
Yeah, I don't know what other talents. I guess now I'm good at editing.
Yo, liar. She's goaded. She's doing more things that I could freaking do, and I had a YouTube channel like years ago. I was doing all the editing, but yeah, definitely could do that. You're very tech savvy. Um, I do think that because you are so confident in yourself, what's it called? It does help with how you approach and interact with people. Like me personally, because like I think we both understand this through our personal experiences, but we don't like combining friend groups um, because like we just don't know if they'll get along or if things will go wrong. So when I mentioned even having Dariel on our podcast for the first time, I barely knew him. I only had occasional conversations with him at the time. And then like what's cool, I just didn't know what your approach on him would be. Because who knows, maybe you didn't like him, maybe you got a bad vibe from him, you know? Because I know you. When you meet someone for the first time, you're just watching them, you're analyzing them, trying to get your like thoughts in order, like your first initial thoughts of them. Um, so it's like, oh God, please, like hopefully she likes him, and this episode works out, and we totally vibe because now here we are with our group
Did
chat.
you ever did you tell Dariel that like, she's gonna analyze you, da da da? You told him that?
I don't remember. I
Oh, yeah.
probably did though. No, I probably did. I probably did. So,
Um,
um, yeah, now here we are talking about making a book club. He's trying to get us to read this book. So, Daria, if you're watching, we love you. So, yeah. But yeah, so I think personally too, when it comes to like this is something that they often do in workshops, like icebreakers, is like trying to talk about yourself and like even in interviews, like you're supposed to talk about like what makes you valuable, what are your strengths and everything. And I feel like it's such a awkward thing to do because you're not really used to doing that all the time. So it is kind of weird saying it now, but overall, I think it's something. I was reading this thing. I was reading a webtoon. Don't mind me, but something that a side character was making the main character do in the story was like have a an exercise every morning where like she had to sit upright and tell herself out loud something that she likes about herself or something that she's proud of doing or like a strength or whatever the case might be. And I think that's something that a lot of us, including maybe us, like should try putting into practice, even if it's weird and funny, because then it wouldn't make things like this like weird and awkward, you know?
yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, unless you have that one thing that you know you're absolutely great at, then by all means, that may be the one thing you jump in to say, like, oh, yeah, I'm great at this. But then you may not have anything else to say after. But you have so many good qualities, you know? There's so
Like
many
positive,
great things
positive
that make you a
affirmations.
person.
Positive
Yeah.
affirmations, yeah.
So, yeah, this is a seminar.
And I've for like this year I bought a new journal. And like in the front I wrote like positive affirmations. And then I wrote like my goals in the present tense because I always written them like I will or like something like in the future tense, but I wrote them like in
Hmm.
the present tense, like
I did.
yeah, like I have da da da, even though I don't have it, but I.
Oh, I've never heard of that before, but that is good to, like, consider, maybe put into practice.
Hmm.
That's cool. But, yeah, guys, I'm now thinking, I think my strengths, yeah, like Ariana said, open minded. Um, I do think I am very friendly, to an extent, But I do consider it a strength because, like, at the same time, I don't want to be too friendly and then get taken advantage of. But then again, obviously, nobody wants to be a bitch for no reason, and you know, um, you know, nobody likes rude ass bitch. So,
What
um,
what strength do you have that like leads you to want to be a teacher?
I think my patience. I'm trying to think because when I met with my advisor for the first week, I don't know if I said it on a podcast or to you, but the second he saw me, he was gassing my head up, yo, Mr. Lopez,
What he said?
credit to you. He had me laughing, like my face was red, like I don't want to say I was blushing, but I was like laughing so hard that my face was also red. But he was like, "What do you want to be? Let me guess." Like at first he said lawyer maybe, but then he said teacher. And then I was like, yeah. He's like, mentioning, I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, you have this charisma to you. Like from the second, like you said hello, like you just seem like such a people person. You're like you're patient. Because even when he was typing things and I was like quiet, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get everything down so I can explain to you all in one sitting, rather than having to break it down and take into like little breaks in between. Like, no, you're fine. Like it takes a lot for me to get annoyed and bothered. Like this is nothing. And he was like, okay, even better. Another reason why you're a great person. So I think, yeah, definitely my patience, because it's not something that a lot of people can like contain and like control completely, and it's something I'm able to do. Like I don't know how I do it. It just takes truly like a lot to bother me. Like you could do something that could be annoying to maybe you. No, let's just say you did something to me that pissed off my cousin, but I'm just there like I have no emotion towards it sometimes. But I think that is important because it it does I do consider that as something that does make me happy at the same time, because in the moments where I've had to help kids or just anybody, like how to teach them something or help them with anything, and then seeing them like get it in their head and like understand, and I just see that character development, even if it's just the slightest, it makes me so happy. So I'm like, okay, it was worth it. Even when I'm with my niece right now and I'm like trying to teach her a name and she finally says, I'm like, there you go. Good baby. And then that's it. So all right. And then the last one of the three dimensions of happiness.
Yeah, so meaning and purpose equals meaningful life. A meaningful life consists, once again, knowing your virtues and strengths and using them to your full potential. So these are questions you can ask yourself to get to have a meaningful life. So what are you good at? What are your natural talents? And can you think of a cause bigger than yourself that is truly worth serving? So for example, like I just asked Tati now, like what strengths do you have that leads you to want to be a teacher? Because she's already decided that she wants to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So look at different passions, and you don't only need to have one passion. Tati may
Yeah.
be a teacher. She may be other things, an artist,
Guys. Yeah, exactly. Talk me up,
a,
Ariana.
a businesswoman, a motivational speaker.
Oh, exactly. There's times where you edit the promo clips. I'm like, damn, I really said that as I should. I be snapping all the time. I'm like, wow. Yeah, because like that's something that like always takes me off guard too. When I see like I have deep talks with my parents sometimes, and we'll be talking from like 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Like we'd be vibing, and like I get deep sometimes, and that's something that my dad like always praises me for. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm not trying to gas myself up, guys, but um, something that my dad has always praised me for, and that's why I never doubt myself when it comes to this, is that when it comes to my music taste and even just my personality, is just so diverse. Like I just don't settle for one thing. Like I may listen to everything that you'll hear at a party, whereas the next minute when I get home, I'm listening to K-pop. A completely different language. Whereas as right after I'm listening to K-pop, I'm listening to freaking Bad Bunny, which is in Spanish, and then from that I'm listening to classical jazz. Or life pop, whatever it is that I listen to when
Lofi
I'm
hip
feeling
hop.
home.
That should
Yeah, the
be
lofi hip hop. Yo, that should be slapping sometimes. It's so soothing. And where I'm like that, but then like I have so many passions. Like I love music. I love media. Like the way like media has such a hold on me too, where I really wanted to like become a media manager. Crazy. Dancing, art, what's it called? Teaching, motivational speaking. Like
Mhm.
I have so many passions, and when I found out that when it came to me coming to college and like having that cut it down to just one, which path that I want to take, it was like, damn, like where do I even go? Like there's so many different things I want to do, and so many things that do make me happy. But I just chose to do teaching, and I just thought like that doesn't mean I have to stop all the other ones.
Mhm.
Um, and honestly, there's a few quotes from BTS that help like remind me of that initial mindset that I had too. I don't remember it right now, but it's basically like you're capable of doing all these things. And whether you're good at it, whether you're not, it can still make you happy. And um you know, like that's all that really matters, you know? Like this is only one life that we're living as far as we know right now. Do whatever makes you happy, you know? Like who knows, like I said, who knows if this is the only life we have. If this is
Yeah.
the only one I have right now,
Make
how
the
am I
best
gonna
out of
go
it.
about it? Yeah, like you know, it's totally normal to have regrets. Like let's just say I did something
Mhm.
and I regret it later on. It's a part of my life and it makes me who I am, and it just helps me further down my journey in this one life that I have, you know? So you just gotta make the most of it because we could be gone in an instant.
Mhm.
We have we have 6 more years, I think.
Oh
We have
no.
6 more years. I'm doing the countdown until this podcast comes to an end. This podcast won't come to an end until either one of us have kids, get married, or the world
Yeah.
has ended. Yeah.
Yeah, once that happens, that's a whole nother different stage of life.
Yeah.
We just
No.
live in our 20s now.
Yeah, we'll be in our late 20s by then. Well, I'll be in my late 20s.
Yeah, I
You'll
won't.
be 30 by the time I'm 26.
Oof, oof.
Yeah. But any last things you wanted to say about the meaning and purpose and meaning of life?
Um, so I would say on top of like not only sticking to like one passion, because I think everybody should be passionate, or I think everybody has a passion, more than one thing they're passionate about, but also understanding that it's a process to find out what is your purpose. And finding out what's your purpose is getting yourself in putting yourself in uncomfortable positions and trying to do different things.
Yeah.
And I would say that's helped me a lot because I'm a shy person, but I used to be more shyer, if that's even a word, when I was younger.
Mhm.
And if we used to tell the younger me the things I've done now, like first of all, start a podcast, um, travel by myself, study abroad by myself, do modeling, like be part of like clubs and like be president and vice president of them. Like if you told me that when I was in middle school and high school, I'd be like, hell no, like Ariana would never do that. And
Yeah,
I
word.
don't know what tells me inside to do these things, but I end up doing it. And then I end up having a ball and like learning so much about myself and then meeting people that enjoy those passions as well.
Mhm.
So the meaning
Wow.
is a process.
Indeed. And that's another good thing about both of us too. Like because we're so open minded, we see like the world in those different ways. We're both so open minded. And you know, this is something I already forgot it from trying the frosting. But I think that plays a role into why we are amazing with our podcast. And like, you know, like even though the podcast is hard, it is something that makes me happy, you know. Like even my grandma, she was telling me like, "Oh, come to the living room, watch the movie, forget the podcast." I was like, "No, like it's not homework, but it's something I enjoy doing nevertheless. The work, you know." So and it does make me even happier knowing that I can see your face every week. It's like the one excuse we get to talk to each other if we can't find any other excuses.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's like the things that make us us. It does play a good part into why we even started this podcast to begin with. So yeah, that's something to consider too. But all right, I'm gonna get into the next one. So why is happiness so important? So life satisfaction can be linked to the reasoning for why happiness is so important for some people. However, there are other groups of people where happiness isn't a goal they'd like to achieve, as we had said prior. But then there's also the factor of why not be happy. Like believe it or not being happy does come with positive effects to possibly make one's life more enjoyable, peaceful, and like we said, happier. Like we said before, happier. But according to positivepsychology.com, they asked, "What's so great about happiness anyway?" Now I'm gonna read some of these like questions, not questions, statements that they had said that we're gonna say your opinion right after these because some of these we don't agree with to an extent, which we'll get into. But I'm gonna read some of them. So happy people are more successful in multiple life domains, including marriage, friendship, income, work performance, and health. And what else? Happy people have more friends and a better support system. I don't know who wrote that shit, but that is false. False. And then happy people donate to more charity. Huh? And then happy people have an easier time navigating through life since optimism eases pain, sadness, and grief. I don't want to say that completely, but I do agree with being optimistic about certain things. It does help with easing those those emotions. Um, Happy people have a positive influence on others and encourage them to seek happiness as well, which can act as a reinforcement, can help engage in deeper and more meaningful conversations, smile more, benefits your health, exercise more, are happy what they have rather than being jealous of others, are more likely to be healthy in the future, which is what they said prior, anyways. Living longer and are more productive and more creative. And this effect extends to all those experiencing positive emotions. What are your thoughts?
Okay. So like when reading the statements, it makes it seem like it's like a cause and effect like relationship that if
Mm-hmm.
you're happy, this is going to happen, which that's not the case. And like
Mm-hmm.
um that's how like I feel like some like findings of research is not really like analyzed well. Like this type of research is not like um it's not a cause and effect relationship. So how like
Mm-hmm.
these statements were found is like taking people that are happy and they measure that however they measure it, the researchers, and then they look at different domains of their life. So it's not like a core, it's more of a correlation. It's more like a relationship between like these happy people and these different domains of their life. Just because you're happy doesn't mean they're gonna have more friends, but it's more of a
Yeah.
relationship. And like if you like the relationship, there's gonna be some people that are happy in there that don't have a lot of friends or a better support system, and then it's gonna be uh, a good portion. That's why they have this statement that most happy people have more friends or a better support system. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't take these statements like to the heart.
Personally.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the way like they wrote it, it kind of seems like cause and
It's a
effect.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to make it seem like, oh, it's a fact that happy people feel like this. So if you're happy, this one of these things are gonna happen to you. You know, like no. And after reading some of these, like it really brings me back to. And you had said this like a few seconds ago too. Like it brings me towards when I was like a teenager. I was like a year or two ago now. Anyways, but I was like 15, 14 around that time. Whenever I had my blogs, I was uploading blogs every week. I was doing like all sorts of things, recording everything, so chatty. I was with my friends, and at this time period, like my family, like they think like I'm a busy bee, which I was. Like I had lots of friends, all different backgrounds. I had friends. I went to different schools, you know, all the time. So I had friends everywhere, and I was with everybody, and I was talking to everybody, and um the second I talked about me being sad and depressed and like my anxiety attacks that I used to have more often back then, it was like I would never think that's who it was. It was my mom. My mom and I had a talk one time when I was younger, and she would get emotional because she wouldn't understand why I couldn't confide in her about my feelings. But at that time, it was harder for me to like identify the origin of what started making
You
what
didn't have
caused
the
those.
language. You were young.
Huh?
You didn't have the language.
Yeah, like I didn't know what was the cause of that original feeling. Like I didn't know what was making me so anxious and all these things and what would be the main cause of why I cried all night. And because when I would cry from my anxiety attacks, I used to have like outer body experiences. Like it was so scary and I would cry for hours on hours, like be dehydrated and be so tired. It was just so crazy. And then but like my mom would say, I just wouldn't think that like you're sad. She even says this to me even now. Like she's happy that I'm not sad because she asks me for updates. But she's like, you live a happy life. Like there's like you're not beat. You're like you have food on the table. You have everything that you may need. Like what is wrong that's making you this sad? And like I generally wouldn't have a reason. Like I wouldn't know, and I'd be like, "Yo, mom, like I don't know." Like it'd be like I was happy on the outside majority of the time, but on the inside, it was like my heart was breaking. Like I would be trying to force myself not to cry, and then I'd be home, and once I'm home, that's when it's like the minute that this bedroom, because this is where I lived during my early teenage years. The minute I closed that door and I was away from my grandparents, my mom, my brother, I was like depressed as fuck. So, it was like I don't know. It's not like I was faking my happiness earlier in the day. I was generally happy and I enjoyed my moments with my friends and everybody. But it was just like it was always like a switch or something. Like even though it made me happy, I wasn't really at peace with myself and where I was in my life. I felt like there was something more I was lacking. I just felt like there was this void, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was my personal experience with it. But the one that I did agree with from this list was happy people have an easier time navigating through life since optimism eases pain, sadness, and grief. I used to be more optimistic when I was younger. I'm not saying I'm not optimistic now, but um, it I can't really explain my mentality now. That it seems so different from back then, but um, it's like um, it like I said, it takes a lot to get me annoyed and angry, and it seems lately these days it goes also to the extent of being sad. Like it takes a lot to get me sad now, which obviously I try to avoid. So I think actually, yeah, me being optimistic as much as possible, me just talking to myself and um, praising myself when necessary is what helps me get by, and it has helped so far for like 7 months, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, that's what it was. It's me. The thing that made me happy these last few months in my personal experience is actually like not saying I didn't love myself prior, but like truly accepting myself, realizing my wants and what I was gonna do to get them, to be that person, be where I wanted to be. So I think having that realization, that talk with myself, and like realizing that I was actually capable of getting there is what helped me get it together. So that's my experience with it. You're smiling at me like this is like the best therapy session you've had all day.
Oh yeah.
You look like my guidance counselors from high school.
Yes. I'm taking it all in.
Mm-hmm. You learn something new about me every episode.
I do.
Mm-hmm. Vice versa too. But there's some things I can't say about Ariana on camera. Are there any other things that you want to say?
About the
You
state.
summed it up pretty well. Yeah, you summed it up pretty well in your first statement.
Yeah, that's pretty much I had to say about the statements that these statements they make it seem like it's a fact, like a cause and effect relationship, which is a
Yeah.
correlation instead.
Are you crying?
Just something in my
Oh. I was like, damn, was it something I said? But yeah, guys, so I don't know, take into consideration the things that we said, we may have mentioned. It's something that we actually did say that I want to go back on to was life satisfaction. I like we said, don't take these things that we said personally. It all really depends on the person, you know. And it's also just psychologists being psychologists, thinking that they know everything. But I think life satisfaction is like the main source of happiness in a way. Like everybody, like it like let's just say you might be a grumpy person, but the thing that would bring you the most joy is maybe getting a motorcycle and like finally being a biker guy with your friends. Like that's like your life goal. Like that's your journey. Like that's what you want. Just whatever satisfies you and your goals for your life, I think is enough to make you happy because that's going to be the ground of your happiness for your life. You know, if that's something that you want. If I'm writing this correctly, but yeah, I don't know how else to phrase it.
So yeah, that sums up what science of happiness is, and hopefully you guys know the science behind of how happiness is studied and how like psychologists study this, and it's also hopefully made you reflect about your own purpose of life, your strengths, what you're good at, as we
Oh
did
wow.
throughout the episode. And
Yeah.
I think I wanted to end with a question. Do you think we can train ourselves to be happier or like control our happiness? Because something that's been like really popular now is like self-help books, like how to be happy. I feel like self-help books been popular for
Yeah, I see a lot of like write and burn books. Like
yeah. And
like
there's even like classes when I was like doing the research, like there's colleges that have classes like how to be happy or like ways to be happy. Like people are making money off of this. Um
TED Talk.
so do you think somebody can train like themselves to be happy?
I think it really does depend on the individual. I think everybody. It really does depend. Some people are stronger than others, and different aspects of their own personality and who they are as a person. So it really does depend. Um, so I think the best thing to do is actually ask yourself that. You know, like for me personally, would I be able to train myself to be happier? To an extent, it depends on my mindset and who I am in that moment. Who I was 7 years ago, probably. Um, who I am now, probably. Uh, I put in the same criteria as me, like faking a smile when I'm at work in my customer voice. But then I talk like this normally. But I'm like, hi, how are you? Welcome to da 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 da. Oh, you need help with that? Yeah, no problem. I got you. Yeah, like so, just trying to seem happier than I actually am. Not saying that I'm not happy, but and control that happiness. Yeah, I think it is controllable to an extent. But I feel like everybody at the same time does have a limit if they are faking it to make it.
Mhm. No, I
So
agree. It depends on the person and their circumstances. If they have a support system. I also think like um,
mm,
financial stability has to do with like I feel like it relates to happiness.
yeah,
Yeah, it depends on the person and if the person is capable to held themselves accountable to be able to train themselves to be happy. Not not everybody has that, or it's hard for them
yeah,
to understand that to get there, and they they may need help to get there. They may need to
exactly.
to confide in or something, or get help, get professional help, and that's okay.
Yeah, totally fine. Normalize going to a therapist. It's not that bad.
Hmm.
Even the happiest people go to a therapist sometimes. Ask
I
Tatiana.
go to therapy.
Yeah, you were the person I was talking about. What's it called? My boyfriend always says he was like, I don't know what it is with you. He's not coming yet. My sad friend, but he's like the only person I know that has like little to any issues, or I guess to his he's the most normal is Ariana out of all my friends. Yeah, he was like, no, because everybody has like some kind of drama, or they're depressed, or they always have anxiety, whatever the case may be. Whereas you're like, hey.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have drama,
I'm like,
but I
yeah,
like I am tired. Like, I struggle with time management, but that's because my schedule is freaking hectic.
booked. Yeah, you booked. She's famous.
But in terms of like drama and like I don't
Ain't
know,
nobody got time for that.
I don't. That's not.
You're 25. It's not something that you crave or you need. If you can avoid it, you will gladly, 100%.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
I, in the same way, that's the number one thing about me too, guys. I have a lot of pet peeves, but I think the number one thing is getting dragged into drama that I don't need to be put into. Because there's times where people like try to like tell me some shit, and they're so mad, and I'm like, it's okay. Like I'm just so chill and tranquilo. And sometimes that does anger people because like they want you to be mad with them. I'm like, I can't,
Don't bring me there.
mommy.
Don't bring
Yeah, don't. You shouldn't have brought me into this conversation then, because you know me. I'm not like that. I will not give you the answer that you need. But yeah, guys. So I really do think that it depends on the person. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Next week is our last episode of the season. We will be together. We will be having a free talk, and it's episode 60, baby. So we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Peace.